Welcome back. Now, he taught me that you can be whoever you want to be, but he instilled in me and so many of my friends and comrades that a beloved country can only be free when we walk the path of compassion and freely give of ourselves to others. Now, these are the words of Artscape CEO Marlene Roux, in which she pays tribute to Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who passed away on Sunday, and he was aged 90. Marlene Roux joins us now via Zoom to share her most memorable moments with the Arch. A very good morning to you, Marlene. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, Simpiwe. It is indeed a sad day for our country, our African continent and globally. But I was just a young student in 1986 when I joined UWC as a student, University of the Western Cape.
Yes.
And in my formative years, this wonderful, kind man has taught me the role of the church must speak up against injustice during the apartheid era. And he never just hold on. He just moved on. But he also taught me one thing, that you must live your life purposefully, even in the new dawn of the democracy. He walked that path and the walk against corruption, against the injustice. And I worked very closely with him on arts projects, especially our Arts Humanity Festival, that was to highlight the plight also and the inhumaneness that persons were treated with disabilities, and also specifically the LGBTQ plus A community. And the Arch was vocal about it, that the church must play an active role about injustice in the world. So for me as a young student, that role that the Arch has played in my life, I will never forget. And I had the privilege to work with the Arch as an adult. I am now with the Tygerberg Hospital Children's Trust, where we really look at rural parents coming with their children. And the Arch and Malia is trustees of this particular hospital. And I want to say the legacy that we must take forward from the Arch in the sad time, because we lost our moral compass, is that we need to take the truth, the compassion, the kindness, and the action that the Arch so boldly, even in his late path of his life and age, with us, and say that we will be citizens that will take this country and we will speak for justice, equal justice for all. But I will remember him as a person that loved children, a person that was kind but could laugh from the belly of his stomach, and he loved people. Yeah. I'm sitting here today and I say, what a gift was given to the world, and let the Arch rest humbakashli. And us that stays behind must take his legacy forward with kindness and really make a better place, equal economic wealth for everybody, but look after the poor and the most vulnerable of our communities.
You know, the Arch was so many things to so many different people. To some, he was a father. To some, he was a religious leader or the Most High Reverend. To some, he was an anti-apartheid maverick. So what was he to you?
For me, he was father.
Yeah.
He walked the path with me in my darkest moment. I had a cerebral palsy son, Adam. He was there when I was expecting Adam. He was holding my hand when I was buried, my son, when he passed on.
Sure.
So Arch was not just the public figure. Arch was also there with you when you were in your darkest moment. For me, I've lost a father. I've also lost a person that I know was there, who I could talk to, who I can laugh with, and was just there, that will turn up, send me that bouquet of flowers when nobody knows, when he dropped that email for OC and asked, "Are you okay?"
This is so profound, Marlene. This is very, very profound. And I saw that in your Facebook, you say that he saw you as a person. What do you mean by this?
When I entered that gates of UWC, my life have changed. Because when I met, like any other student, the Arch, we came from the rural areas to come to study. I am Afrikaans speaking. We were at a dual university. Here's the Arch giving us hope, but also giving us the word of God by saying it's the truth. You must speak against apartheid. You must be active. But for me, that time, it was here was this man believing in God, but a God of justice, a God of activism, a God speaking against this brutality of apartheid. That has changed my life profoundly, but it made me a person also by not seeing my disability, that I could march with any other student because I was one of the first students with a disability at UWC. And the Arch made me one with Courtney Sampson, with Colin Jones, with Helen Joseph. I want to pay tribute to these people with the students of class the 80s, where our country was burning. That was our history. That is where we come from. So let us take up the spear today by saying, let us take the silent voice of the Arch now forward. For me, as a woman, a rural woman with a disability, and that time I was 17 years old, the Arch taught me, you can be whoever you want to be, even with your disability. And that is what made me a strong woman, by saying to myself, if the Arch believe in me, I can become whoever I want to be.
You know, Marlene, it's often said that death unites people to some, to some extent. Do you think that, given South Africa's state of polarization and we are a deeply divided nation, do you think that we will be united in his death? I mean, in pursuit of social justice and peace, narratives that he so fought hard for all his life?
We can't do anything else but looking at, he wrote this book, Forgiveness. We can only go forward with forgiving, but it's also about restorative justice. That's very important. The Arch head up the TRC. We now need to take his work forward. It can't just be in the PhDs of students, and also the word Ubuntu can't just be captured in exhibitions. It must be captured in action. So as a nation, we must be united. We can't just be talked about the rainbow nation, which was the word that the Arch has coined. But we need to say, what do we mean with the rainbow nation? What do we mean with our diversity and our identity? It is about shedding our egos now. It is about how do we bring our nation together. That's why the Arts supported Artscape Theatre in our Humanity Festival, where we brought thousands of people together to talk about and also to be telling uncomfortable stories on our stages, and also to say that your life do matter. But your life can only matter if we look at equal education, if we give voice to the voiceless, and not just a few that experience the wealth of the new South Africa.
We know that he was a supporter of the ordination of women priests, and he fought for the LGBTQI plus rights. And his quest for a common humanity was loudly expressed, of course, in the face of these xenophobic attacks here in South Africa. Now that the Arch is gone, do you think that the fight against all these narratives I've just mentioned will still go on?
If it must go on, There are so many. There's the Desmond and Leah Legacy Foundation. They must continue with their work. There's the Tygerberg Hospital Children's Trust. It must go on. There's all these foundation that is happening, that the trust is a patron, and the legacy we need to go forward. My quest is, because I knew and I know the art in a very personal way in my formative years, it is by now shed our ego. The arch belongs to everybody, the legacy of the arch. And today I want to say thank you to Malia, to his children, to his grandchildren, to his great grandchildren, who shared this man with us so humbly, and to the world and to South Africa. The gift that we must give back is to take his work forward and to shed ourselves and what he stood for. And this is my humble plea today, that we must do this and unite as South Africa.
He certainly was a beacon of hope to so many people all over the world. And, he shared his vision and quest for social justice to all marginalized groups. So what do you think his greatest legacy will be or is? And how do you think we should best celebrate him?
It's children. The Arch had a love for children. And if we can ensure that every child, and I always say, a young woman with a disability have access to education, affordable education, and can rise and become the president of our country. And obviously, I will say, being disabled and being gay, then we have the profoundness of the Arch.
And who needs to take the baton and move on? Is it the youth? Is it women priests? I mean, a group which has often been marginalized. Who do you think that should just take the spear and that burning light and run with it?
First and foremost, the Arch were a priest, but he was not just a priest for the Anglicans. He was interfaith. He was a spiritual being. So let us come back home. Let our interfaith take up the spear and let us speak against the evil of injustice in our communities. Let us also hold government accountable. But let us say, let's work with government. But let us say, let us have programs for our young people, job creation, programs to make our young people citizens, legacy of ethical leadership. So it's all of us that needs to take up the spear. Let the legacy of the arts not just be pertained to foundations, but it must be legacy for the people. Let us take us up. Wherever we are, we need to make a change for humanity and humility.
And you always fought for humanity, no matter whether you are a Christian or you are a Jew or a Hindu or a Muslim. In fact, his most famous words was, God is not a Christian, nor is he a Muslim or a Jew. I suppose then that the mandate of these interfaith organizations should not only extend to religious matters, but to social issues as well.
It should be. We should look at our cultural issues. We should say, if our cultural background and our cultural practices is not the empowerment for women, for gay rights, then that cultural practice should not be part of our South African path. Let us embrace our diversity. Let us embrace our rainbow nation of the arch, but let us walk in faith and let us embrace our largeness as a nation. And that is what the arch was fighting for. God has many forms. God was not just a God for Christians.
And how do you think these, these interfaith communities should come together for a common cause? Because there's still the polarization of the religion of the different religious groupings.
In South Africa, if we look at our continent, if we look at South Africa, it is the profound poverty. It is the
Right.
profound where we're still not giving women the right places where we can say that this is where we are. We are human beings. We need to say no to homophobia. The arch have so rightfully say if he must be in heaven and God is homophobic, then obviously he's not in the right heaven. So it is about listening and also the knowledge that we need to unpack the lessons that the arch is giving us even from his departure, that we need to say, let's forget about ourselves. Let's take this path of lessons of forgiveness, restorative justice, but also about let us take where we are, wherever, which faith we are practicing, that we walk in the path of humanity. That we not first ask, are we women? Are we of a different faith? Are we gay? We're not going to, you're not human. But let us all say we are one on this earth, but that we need to have resources and that equity and equality goes hand in hand.
And especially on the issue of equity and equality, you remember that in public and alone, he cried because he felt people's pain. And he was quite vociferous in calling out the government, which he believed at some point did not serve the interests of the people. In fact, he was captured on camera saying to former President Jacob Zuma that he does not represent him, but the former president's administration only represents their own interest. And I suppose that he was very, very selfish. I mean, he was very, very not selfish in terms of, articulating the interests of the people.
That's precisely, and the arts spoke against corruption. The arts spoke in the New South Africa is that his worry was also how do we bring all the Rainbow Nation children together, that we can have dialogue, that our young people need to start to talk to each other. That is why important that education played a pivotal role in the Arch's quest to look at how do we look at the empowering of our people. So the Arch was not afraid to call out where things were totally going wrong. And hence we have lost a person that was our moral compass during this time. It is a sad time, but it's also it's a time for us to reflect on the Arch's life. Wherever we are, no one can own the Arch, what the Arch stands for. We can only learn the lessons and say to ourselves, wherever we are, how we're going to give the voice to the voiceless, and how are we going to look where we are in positions, how are we going to bring that particular resources back to the people. So it's not just we are sad, but it is in our sadness that we need to say to ourselves, how are we going to take up this huge challenge that the Arch has left us to take our country forward. His voice is going to be silent, but his legacy must live on through us where we are, and we need to do it with humility and with humanity. Let's unite through his legacy.
And we heard the St. George's Cathedral saying that, for the next few days, the bells will be rung for about 10 minutes. And they asked the people to just pause whatever they're doing and reflect on the legacy and the important person that Archbishop Desmond Tutu was in our lives. So how do you think then we should, take this opportunity to reflect on the legacy that he earmarked in our lives?
If there's one person, as I'm sitting here, that everybody will say, but we can relate. It is the arch.
Yes.
The arch was not just for one political party. It was for everybody. He was for that mother that was lost. And when the bells will be ringing all over, let's reflect and let us say to ourselves, even if it's our neighbor, even if it's that church group, even if it's different faith groups, youth groups, let's for now in the municipalities, in the most rural areas, it's now the time. If it's not now, when will it be that we as a nation say, enough is enough? Let's say to ourselves, let's do our little bit. You don't need to go and stand on stages to say, I know the arch. This is what the arch have done for me. No, this is the time that we need to say, what am I going to do for my fellow human being? The time is now, not later.
Marlene, lovely chatting to you. We certainly cannot thank you enough. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Well, that was Dr. Marlene Roux, and she's the CEO of Artscape, helping us pay tribute to Archbishop Desmond Tutu, who passed away on Sunday.